let's just get into our topic. And our topic is releasing victimhood. We are talking about what it looks like when you're a victim and how that plays out in your life and what you can do to release yourself, how you can release your victimhood, how you can get over to the other side, as I like to always say, and how you can live a much more full life once you have dealt with some of the things that you're dealing with. And so I kind of thought about times in my life when I was playing the victim role. For many years, I was playing the victim role, and I was someone that walked around, woe is me, and all of these things, are happening to me. And I kind of thought about some of the behaviors that I was exhibiting, some of the things that I was doing when I was playing victim. And I kind of wrote some of them down. And I want to talk to you about them to see if they resonate with you. And we don't want anybody to incriminate themselves. So if it doesn't resonate with you, you can just see if it resonates with somebody you know, okay? Wink, wink. If it resonates with someone that you know, okay? And so one of the first things that you do if you're playing victim is you are walking around feeling sorry for yourself. You walk around feeling sorry for yourself all the time. You have a woe is me type of mentality. The world is against you. Everyone is against you. Everyone is out to get you, right? And you just walk around just not optimistic about life. You don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. Everything is just a gloom and doom, right? So that maybe that was you, because that was me at one particular point, right? You're always replaying in your mind everything that has happened to you. Everything that has happened to you, you're constantly replaying it in your mind, and then you have to tell everybody. Everybody that you come in contact with has to hear about what happened to you. They have to find out about what happened to you 5 years ago. They have to hear about what happened to you 10 years ago. They have to hear about the fact that you didn't go to law school like you wanted to. They have to hear about what happened to you in your family. They have to hear about what happened to you on a job. Or maybe what your ex-wife or your ex-husband did, right? It's always this gloom and doom. This is what happens to me. You always have it on the forefront of your mind. That's why it's so easy to roll off of your tongue. And you're always telling other people about it, right? You're always telling other people about it, which keeps you stagnant. It keeps you in a vicious cycle. It keeps your wheels spinning or turning in the same direction. You can't move forward. You can't progress in life. You're not optimistic. You're not setting any goals, and you're certainly not reaching your goals because you keep replaying these experiences. You keep thinking about it. You keep feeling sorry for yourself, and it causes you to just be unhappy with life, right? One other thing that you may do if you are acting as a victim is you are easily offended. You are easily offended. Every time somebody just says the slightest little thing to you, you take offense to it. You have a problem with everything that someone says. You take offense. It hurts your feelings. You feel like they're picking on you. Again, it's the world against you. Everybody is against you and all of that. And you're easily offended. You're easily picking a fight, getting into it with people. You're popping off on people all the time. And you use that as a manipulation tactic. You use it as a way to manipulate other people because, of course, nobody wants to make anybody feel bad, right? Nobody wants to make anybody feel bad. So if you tell people that you offended me when you did that, you hurt my feelings when you said that, I didn't like what you said to me, right? People are going to instantly feel bad themselves, and then they're going to apologize to you. You're aware of this and you use it to your advantage. You're using it as a manipulation tactic. That's playing the victim. That's playing the victim role, particularly when people are trying to correct you. People are offering you constructive criticism and you don't want to take the criticism and you act as if you're offended by that, right? This is something that someone who is a victim, this is what they do. These are characteristics of someone that is playing the victim role. You're easily offended. You're picking a fight. You don't like what anybody has to tell you. And then you ultimately start creating barriers. You start creating barriers from people who are trying to help you. People who are trying to do right by you. people who mean well for you. They want to see you grow. They want to see you prosper, but you'd rather stay where you are. You create a barrier and you don't let people get close to you. You don't open up to people. You won't take help. People could be willing to help you. They're offering you free resources. They're offering you an avenue to get out of your sunken place that you're in, and you won't take it. Because if you've been playing the victim role for 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years, it's a familiar place for you. I understand. I was there. It's a familiar place for you. You feel comfortable in this victim role, right? And whether consciously or subconsciously, you actually like it. Because as long as you can play victim, you tell yourself you don't have to progress in life. You don't have to move forward. You can stay here thinking about what this person did to you, how they hurt you, and that gives you an excuse. And if we were going to tell a deeper truth, you like the attention that you get. Whenever you're playing the victim role, you like the attention that you get. You like the fact that people come by your desk at work and that you get to tell them all of your problems. You like being in the lunchroom. You like being on the conference call. You like going and having brunch or lunch with your friends, and you get to tell them all of your problems and what happened to you. You like the attention that you get when people are feeling sorry for you. This is what a victim does. This is what victimhood looks like. Okay? And like I said, you're placing your life on hold. You keep wallowing around in a particular space. You're not moving forward, right? And you just really aren't in a good place, but you like it. You like the attention. So these are some of the things that people do when they are victims. And if any of this resonates with you, type some hearts in the chat. And like I said, we don't want you to self-incriminate, so it doesn't have to be about you. If you know somebody on your job who does this, if you know one of your friends who does this, somebody in your family who does this, just somebody that you might know in the community, type some hearts in the chat. If any of this resonates with you, right? So this is what a victim looks like. This is what victimhood looks like. And this is what people do that are holding on to their victimhood. Ultimately, you like it, it's familiar to you, and you stay there because you like the attention, and it gives you an excuse to not get up, to not make a change, and to not do something differently. But I want to ask you a question. What would you do and who would you be if you were no longer a victim? Who would you be if you were no longer a victim? If you were no longer carrying around all of the things that you are carrying around, if you were no longer holding yourself hostage, if you no longer have the woe is me mentality, if you're not revisiting things in your mind, if you're not being offensive, if you're not doing all of those things that a victim does, who are you and who would you be? Have you ever thought about that? I'm not exactly sure that, people know. When people are playing the victim role, I'm not exactly sure if they know. Because sometimes we associate certain things with our personality and we just say, well, that's just the way that I am. Well, I'm like that because so many people have hurt me in the past, so that's just the way I am. I just don't open up to people anymore. I just set a boundary, or, people have to prove themselves to me. All of these things that you do that you have now made a part of your personality, and that's really not who you are. So who would you be? Who are you if you're not playing the victim role? Think about that for a moment. Who would you be if you weren't walking around playing the victim role? So now that we've kind of identified what victimhood looks like, what some of the characteristics are of being a victim, let's talk about how we get over to the other side. Let's talk about if we want to move over to the other side where we're living a life full of, peace, there's joy, there's harmony, we're getting along with people, we're extending ourselves grace, some of the things I talked about in the beginning. We have balanced, harmonious relationships with people. What would that look like? How do we get there? How do we get over to the other side? How do we get from where we are, being victim, wallowing in our sorrow, replaying things? How do we get there over to the other side where we're living a more fulfilled life? Because when you stay over here, you're really just robbing yourself of a quality of life. You're robbing yourself of the quality of life that you could be having. And you think you're hurting other people by holding on to that, by staying locked up in your house, by not talking to people, by creating barriers. You think you're hurting other people. And you may be doing that temporarily. Temporarily, you may be hurting the other people, right? Because you're, manipulating them like I talked about before. So temporarily, you may be creating a boundary between you and your friends or you and your family, and it may be kind of hurting them. But in the long run, you're really hurting yourself. Short term, you may be causing some hardships on them, but long term, you're really just hurting yourself. You're causing yourself to be stagnant and you're robbing yourself of your quality of life. So let's talk about ways we can get over to the other side. Hello, Valerie. Thank you for joining. So we've kind of talked about what victimhood looks like. Now we're going to talk about how do we release that victimhood and how do we get over to the other side. So one of the ways that you can do that is to simply stop replaying the negative things that have happened to you. Stop replaying those negative things that have happened to you. I know that's something that I did for a long time. I would just replay over and over and over how people hurt me, what this particular person did to me, how I wish I was further along in my career, how I wish I had moved and done this, how I wish I was making more money, how I wish I was doing all of these things. And I was just stuck in victim mode. And I just replayed over and over and over all of the excuses, all of the things that have happened to me. I replayed it over and over and over in my mind. Anytime I got any quiet time, anytime I got time to myself, my mind automatically just went to feel sorry for yourself, Dina, start wallowing in your sorrow, don't get out of bed, just sit here and just feel sorry for yourself, right? And so that's normally where it starts. That's normally where it stops and starts. What goes on in your mind? Because like I said at the beginning of this live, you are with yourself 24 hours a day, and you have conversations with yourself more than you do with other people. So replaying those negative experiences over and over and over in your mind, that's the foundation of why you're still in victim mode. So we want to stop doing that. We want to stop rehearsing those things over and over and over in our mind. And when you think about it, train yourself, train your mind to think about it a different way. It's going to be hard work. It's not going to be easy, but it can be done. But you are going to have to do your work. No one's coming to save you. You're going to have to do it yourself. So when you find yourself sitting at home, sitting at the red light, in the morning trying to meditate and your thoughts keep getting clouded by all of these negative things, stop. Train yourself to think about it differently. Think about it, analyze what happened, and then try to think about it from a different perspective, right? The second thing, if you want to move from victimhood to being more of a victor and live more of a life of freedom, is you're going to have to stop hanging around other victims. Newsflash, you're going to have to stop hanging around other victims. You're going to have to stop hanging around other people who have a similar story as you. Because whether you realize it or not, you all are probably connected to each other via your pain and your trauma. That's what's connecting you. It may not be a real relationship. It may not be a real friendship. What is connecting you and what you have in common is your pain and your trauma. I heard somebody say that about a week or two ago, and it stopped me dead in my tracks because I had never heard it put like that. When I thought about it, I said, yeah, because I thought about some of the different people that I had been attracted to, people that were being attracted to me. And when we got together, it was one big dump fest. I'm dumping my pain and trauma on you, and you're dumping your pain and trauma on me. Let's see who can have the worst story to tell today. And so there was no real time for a relationship to be formed or for a friendship to be formed because we spent so much time dumping on each other, right? So that's what happens whenever you are hanging around other people who are a victim as well, people who never have anything good to say. You're attracted through your pain and your trauma, perhaps, and those are people who you need to get away from. You want to spend more time around people who've already moved from victimhood to being a victor. You want to spend more time around people who've already gotten over to the other side. people who are already past that and people who have already moved to a more fulfilled life. And you may have to be intentional about seeking those people out. Okay? So some of the people that you may have been friends with, or you think it was a friendship, you've been friends with them for years, you may have to distance yourself from those people. If you already know every time you talk to them on the phone, you already know when you call, you already know when you get ready to go have dinner or go have a girls' night out or go hang with the guys, you already know it's going to be negative. It's going to be gloom and doom. You already know it's going to be a dump fest. Why do that to yourself? You're going to have to make some difficult decisions. You're going to have to be willing to be uncomfortable for a short time, to be comfortable for a long time. You're going to have to be willing to be uncomfortable for a short time to get comfortable for a long time, right? You're going to have to maybe inconvenience yourself, spend some time by yourself, get real clear on some things. I did it. I'm not telling you anything that I didn't do. I got a new phone number, got new email address, stopped hanging around certain people because we were connected through pain and trauma, and I needed to turn and go a different way. So it can be done. So that's the second thing I want you to think about. Not hanging around other victims. Get away from other people who are in victim mode because you're trying to get free. You're trying to get over to the other side, and they may want to wallow. First of all, they may not know they're a victim. We talked about that at the beginning of the live. They might not even know that they're a victim. And then two, they don't want to get free. They want to stay there because they're comfortable. It feels good to them. It's familiar to them. And they like the attention that they get. Those are some of the things that I mentioned, right? For those of you that are just joining, welcome and thanks for joining. So you're just trying to get free, so you're going to have to get away from those people. The third thing, if you want to stop being a victim, is you're going to have to take ownership. You're going to have to take ownership of your role and the way and the reason why things turned out the way that they did. As you're thinking about some of your situations and you are kind of replaying them in your mind, remember I said think about it a different way, analyze the situation, you're going to have to start taking ownership. Think about all of your different relationships, situations, negative experiences, things that didn't turn out the way you wanted them to turn out, and think about if there's any patterns. Pattern recognition. Are you attracting the same type of people? Is the same thing happening to you over and over? Are you having the same types of obstacles? Those type of things. Are there any kind of patterns, any kind of similarities with these experiences? And if so, guess who the common denominator is? It may have happened with different people, but the common denominator is you. You are the person that is in all of these situations. All of these different people don't know each other. So if you keep having these same things happening over and over, guess who the common denominator is? It's you. And it's okay because maybe you didn't know that, but now you do. Now you do. So that's why I'm saying analyze it, think about it from a different perspective, and do things differently this time. Maybe you didn't even realize how you were contributing to these situations. When you sit down and you think about it and you realize it, then do it differently, okay? You're going to have to take ownership of your role so you can notice patterns, change your behavior, and then you will see your outcomes begin to change. Hi, Nansel. Thanks for joining. Okay, so the fourth thing that you can do, and if this is resonating with anybody, put some hearts in the chat. If any of this is resonating with you, if you're feeling like, this is me, I'm having some aha moments, or again, I don't want you to self-incriminate. If it's somebody that you know that does these things or they need to do it, put some hearts in the chat if any of this is resonating with you, okay? So number four, the fourth thing that I want you to think about as we talk about releasing victimhood and going from being a victim to a victor is you want to start thinking about yourself positively and start thinking about your situation positively and start speaking over yourself in a positive way. I've said several times, you're with yourself 24 hours a day, and it starts right here in your mind. It starts right here in your mind. If you want to get free, if you want to move over to the other side, you're going to have to be intentional. So you're going to have to stop yourself mid-thought, mid-sentence, and change it and think more positively, right? Start saying affirmations if you don't already do. Start saying affirmations over yourself and start thinking more positively. You can say something as simple as, I am not a victim and my past does not define me. I am not a victim and my past does not define me. Don't make it difficult and don't overthink it. Keep it very simple. I am not a victim and my past does not define me. Every time you start to have those thoughts, every time your mind starts to drift into a negative place and you start feeling sorry for yourself, you start to blame other people, I am not a victim and my past does not define me. Okay? In order to kind of bring yourself out of it, you may say, I learned from my mistakes and I turned my wounds into wisdom. I learned from my mistakes and I turned my wounds into wisdom. That's an affirmation that you can say to yourself over and over as you're going throughout your day. You can say that. Something else you can say is, I no longer hold space for negative people and things. I no longer hold space for negative people and things. So when you need to encourage yourself, when you need to get away from those victims that I talked about earlier, break free from some of those victim ties that you have with people, and you need to encourage yourself, and you don't think that you can stop talking to somebody you've talked to for the last 20 years, I no longer hold space for negative people and things. And just keep saying that to yourself over and over, okay? So find some, affirmations, come up with some affirmations and think those things and speak positively over yourself so that you can change your outcome and you can start to change your behavior. And then lastly, the last thing that I want to encourage you to do is to talk to a professional. Talk to a professional, talk to a therapist. I'm a life coach. I can definitely help you to a certain extent, and definitely, go to a therapist, find somebody that you feel comfortable talking to. Find somebody who maybe can be objective, someone that you trust, and someone that can help you kind of think through. It's always good to have a fresh pair of eyes, somebody on the outside looking in that can kind of see things a little bit more differently. Definitely in the beginning stages, because again, you're comfortable. You've been doing this for years. If this is you, you've been doing this for years and you may not even see yourself. You've associated certain things with your personality and it's really not. And you don't see a way out. You maybe truly just, just think the world is against you. But if you have somebody else, a thought partner, another professional, or maybe even just somebody who you can trust, they can help you by looking at it from a more objective, standpoint, looking at it from a different way. Okay. And whatever it is that you are feeling, your feelings are valid. I don't want you to walk away saying that I'm saying you shouldn't feel what you feel. Whatever it is you're feeling, whatever it is you've gone through, whatever has happened to you, your experiences, it's all valid. If you felt hurt, it's valid. If you felt used, it's valid. If you felt taken advantage of, it's valid. If you felt, not confident in yourself, whatever it is, all of your feelings are valid. But you're going to have to be intentional about not staying there if you want to release your victimhood. If you want to go from being a victim to being a victor, you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to do the work. It's going to be difficult, but like I said, you're going to have to be willing to be difficult. You're going to have to be willing to be inconvenienced short term so that you can get to where you want to be long term. You're going to have to be willing to go through some difficulty short term so that in the long term, you can have the life that you want. Okay, so that's been this week's edition of From Dina's Desk. I sure hope that this information was helpful for you. And if it's helpful, I'd like to see some hearts in the chat. Put some hearts so that I know that it was resonating with you. If this is something that you want to commit to yourself, don't commit to me, commit to yourself. Commit to yourself that you are going to try to get from being a victim to being a victor. So thank you so much for joining, and tag people in this. I'm going to put this live on my page in just a few minutes. If you think that this was helpful, you think other people can benefit from it, then tag other people in it and tell other people. Okay, I'll see you again next Tuesday at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another topic that can help you elevate in your life and your career. Thank you, and bye-bye.